And if you think that you have something which fits into that category, you'd like to find out how you can be a part of the program, well, why don't you drop us a line, address it to Let's Talk Program in care of Vaughan Radio, PO Box 195 Charlestown in Nevis. So give us a call. Our numbers are 1-869-469-1616 and or 1700. Here's a suggestion. You have a question or comment, perhaps you can get a pencil, piece of paper, write it down. So when you get on the show, you take as little time as possible so we can accommodate as many of you as we can. We ask only, first of all, you respect yourselves and then respect others, because we will not accept anything we deem as not within our broadcast standards. But we encourage you to always be forceful with your point. Thank you all again for joining us. Your voice in the community, thought that get results. You can also follow this live video stream on our YouTube channel. You go to YouTube, you click Vaughan Radio, click subscribe, and on our Facebook page at Vaughan Radio. Thank you all again. This evening, two segments. The first segment, the Bank of Nevis Limited. Everybody should know about it, but maybe not everybody know. Well, at least everything. So we're going to tell you some things about the Bank of Nevis. Tonight we have two of the officials here. The general manager is Mr. Herbert Martin. Mr. Martin, good evening.
Good evening, Webbo, and good evening to your listening audience. As usual, it's a pleasure to be here.
And let me do it this way, and we've got who with you?
I have with me, as you would say, Webbo, the heavyweight, our marketing officer, Fayan Jones.
Good evening, Webbo, and good evening, everyone listening tonight.
And you're right. Well, you would know. You would know. So let's just leave it at that. You would know. So it's good to have you. If I've spoken to you in this arena one time or spoken 100 times, it's always good to have you. Yes. But tonight in particular, we're going to be talking about something specific. But as I just said, not everybody knows everything about the Bank of Nevis. Now, just give us a little overview as to how's the bank doing, and then we'll go right into why we're here.
Yes. Well, thank you once again, Webbo. It's always a pleasure to be here, and of course, we always have to thank you for accommodating us. And the Bank of Nevis Limited and Vaughan Radio has had a special relationship for quite some time now. I think, as persons are aware, the Bank of Nevis Limited would have acquired the operations of RBC St. Kitts and RBTT Nevis, and we would have completed the acquisition on the 1st of April. It's been 5 months now, and so we are now going to be converting from the RBC and the RBTT Bank core banking system to the Bank of Nevis Limited's core banking system. And so that is what we're here to speak about this evening. Now, that is going to take place this weekend, this Saturday and Sunday, the weekend of the 11th and 12th of September. But just to say about that, the Bank of Nevis is doing well. Having completed the acquisition, we have seen an increase in business on the St. Kitts end, and there's a lot of excitement on the ground in St. Kitts, and of course here in Nevis as well. And so we continue to work diligently to improve the quality of life for our people, and we have seen some benefits, and people are excited about what we're doing.
Okay, before we get into the details of exactly what we're focusing on, you mentioned on the ground. So on the ground, can you explain, because on the ground we have a building on Chapel Street, and then we have one on Main Street. Right? Now it used to be only the one on Main Street.
Yes.
Right? Now the one on Chapel Street via the acquisition, does that remain?
Yes. So the one on Chapel Street, that remains as a subsidiary. So what was RBTT Bank is now a subsidiary of the Bank of Nevis Limited, and that has been renamed Bond Bank Ltd. However, that is only going to be that way for a period of time. We anticipate that within the next 12 months we should be able to subsume the operations of Bond Bank Ltd. Into the operations of the Bank of Nevis Limited.
Right, and then one physical structure or two? Do we know that as yet?
That is not quite finalized as yet. So that is something that we're still considering at this point in time.
Okay, and indeed we're here to now go further into that in terms of consuming those operations, and you've been given a timeline as to when certain things will take place. That coming up in a few days?
Yes, so
Yes.
that's correct, Webbo. As I said, we this weekend, Saturday the 11th and Sunday the 12th, we will be converting the RBC RBTT accounts to the Bank of Nevis Limited system. And so we are excited to, inform the general public about that. And the reason why we're here is to ensure that we provide information so that customers can be prepared over that weekend. There are going to be some interruptions to service over the weekend. And if I may start first of all with the ATMs, to say that the ATM here in Nevis at Bond Bank Ltd. Or the former RBTT Bank, that ATM will not be operational over this weekend coming up. The ATMs on St. Kitts, the one at Bastia and the one at the University of the Medical Services, that one is also going to not be operational. So Bastia and the one at the university, those will not be functional, but the one at the Wellington branch will be functional. So customers will be able to utilize their Bank of Nevis debit card at the Wellington ATM. Now, we also want to say to the customers as well that currently they have an ATM card for both Royal Bank of Canada and RBTT Bank. Those ATM cards will no longer function after this weekend. However, we are pleased and very excited to say that all customers will receive an international debit card. Of course, our existing customers, they have that debit card already, but the RBC and RBTT customers, before, what they had was an ATM card. This card that we are giving them is an international Visa debit card that they can utilize anywhere in the world. They can use them online. Additionally as well, these cards are going to be what we call EMV and chip and contactless. So there's no need to actually swipe the card, and it would not be necessary as well that you'd have to sign a receipt. It would be contactless. Of course, there's certain security in place and certain limits, so that it doesn't necessarily mean that if you tap your card, you can tap it for any amount. But there's a limit on that. But we will probably provide additional information on that part of it at another time. But
Okay, but does it come as you do the conversion?
Yes.
Does it come automatic? For instance, I have an account there,
Yes.
and after this weekend,
Yes.
and you do the conversion and all that of the accounts, that it means that I get a debit card?
That's correct, Webbo. So all customers will be given a debit card, an international debit card, and that is what we are encouraging customers who have accounts at the former RBTT Bank, now Bond Bank Ltd., and former RBC customers, now Bank of Nevis, Bastia, and Wellington, to collect their debit cards from the Bastia branch in St. Kitts and from the Bank of Nevis Main Street, because everybody who has an account will receive a international debit card. And their ATM cards will not be functional after this weekend, so it's important for them to collect that debit card.
Okay. All right. So that's automatic. You don't have to apply for it. You have an account. You go into the bank and you get it.
Right. Just to say, though, Webbo, that there may be a slight delay with the debit cards for the former RBTT customers. we are still working on some matters as it relates to the debit card for the Bond Bank Ltd or the former RBTT customers, so there may be a slight delay, but we are working on that and we will inform customers accordingly. But for the RBC customers, those customers in St. Kitts, the card have been printed, the cards are actually at the Bastia branch and they can collect the cards there. Webbo, I also want to say as well, that we actually print our own cards right here in Nevis. All of our credit cards and our debit cards are now being printed right here in Nevis. We don't have to go anywhere to have them printed. So that again is another major achievement for the Bank of Nevis.
So that's an advantage again for banking at the Bank of Nevis, right?
Exactly.
Bingo.
Exactly.
Okay, some of the key changes you're going to have, the RBC, the RBTT customers after the conversion.
Some of the key changes that we're going to have after the conversion is one, as Mr. Martin would have mentioned, they'll be given the new international Visa debit card. We want to stress on the point again that their old ATM card will no longer work. We want to also stress on the point that the customers should get or have cash to take them through that weekend. Now, our ATMs, all ATMs will be unavailable from 5 p.m. Friday. So we're encouraging customers to please come and get your cash before 5 p.m. Friday, as the ATMs will be down. So as we said, some of the advantages of being a Bond-Strong customer will be the new Visa debit ATM card. In addition to that, our great customer service and some of the products and features which we are going to release as well. We'll have some new changes as it relates to our products and services. Some new products. I can't speak too much specific as we haven't finalized them yet, but they'll be ready. You will have some new changes as it relates to accounts, some new features, some new fees, etc. So everything is going to be rolled up by next week, and we're encouraging our customers to come and join the Bond-Strong family. Even if you were not RBC, RBTT customers and you're customers of other institutions, we welcome all of you to come over to the Bond-Strong family.
Sorry, Webbo, just to clarify,
Yes.
when Fern said that the ATMs will be down, just so that customers are aware that the Bank of Nevis, the original Bank of Nevis ATMs, those will not be down.
This just for the RBTT,
That's right.
RBC
RBTT,
customers.
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
So for this weekend, those changes that we are speaking to apply to the RBC, RBTT.
Yes, and just to go more into in depth as well, we are converting the ATM for Wellington as we speak. So the intention is to have that one up as well. So come this weekend for conversion, all of the ATMs for Bank of Nevis will be up in Nevis, and in St. Kitts, the Wellington ATM, that would be up as well, because that would have been converted to the Bank of Nevis system already. The other ATMs will be down, which is Bond Bank Limited, Bastia, and over by Was. Those are the ones that are going to be down.
Is it fair to conclude then that the current Bank of Nevis Limited customers for this weekend, everything will be as normal?
They are going to experience limited interruption. May.
Where the ATM and so on are concerned?
Possibly. We don't expect that the ATMs, our ATMs for original Bank of Nevis would be down, but there may be some, because what happened is that we are actually making some changes to our core banking system, and so it may be possible. We don't expect that there would be any significant interruption for our original customers.
However, after the conversion, let's say everything goes well,
Yes.
it means then that the persons at the BON Limited, that's on Chapel Street,
Yes.
and then the branch in St. Kitts,
Yes.
they will then be back to normal.
That is correct, except that the ATMs may not be for Bastia and the one at the Ross University, and the one at Chapel Street. They may not be back up by Monday.
So they might have a longer period of
There
time.
might be a longer period,
Yes.
and so we want to ask our customers to be be patient with us as we walk through this transition.
Okay, so that if Monday they go there and it doesn't work as it should, they would know that you're still doing some adjustments.
Still doing some
Yes,
adjustments.
but the good thing, Webbo, is that from Monday, those customers would be able to use those debit cards at the original Bank of Nevis ATM. So we have 2 ATMs on Main Street. They would be able to use those 2. We have an ATM at Best Buy Gingerland and also at in Camps at Expetrol. They would be able to use those.
Okay,
ATMs
so
as well.
that's important to point out. So after the conversion is done,
Yes.
let's say everything goes well.
Right.
They can use any of the
Yes.
areas.
Exactly. Exactly. They would be
Okay.
able to use any of the ATMs.
With their new debit
yes.
card.
Within your debit
Your
card.
debit card, yes.
Bingo.
Okay. All right. Now, since it's something that is new, persons are going to have questions that I couldn't imagine. So suppose they have a question, like maybe somebody, we don't have a lot of time, so let me see whether somebody has a question quickly, and then we go back. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Yes.
My question is, if you have an account of RBTT and the bank and an account of Nevis, Bank of Nevis, what would happen to the account of RBTT? Do you need to get 2 cards, or would the account number be changed? Thank you.
Oh, okay. All right. Did we get a question, right?
Yes. Yes. we
Okay.
did.
Yes. Go ahead.
Okay, so as far as having an account at RBC, there's no change to the account numbers, and as far as having an account at RBTT, there's a slight change. So usually the numbers are around 16 digits. It's going to be now 10. There's a lot of think of zeros in the middle of the numbers, so we're going to take out the zeros. You won't need more than one ATM card, because what's going to happen is, given that it's on our system, then the accounts will just be linked to that debit card. So that would answer the question.
But I interpret it a little differently, so let me put it the way I interpret it
Okay.
and see whether it's different. If I have, and this is only imagining, I have an account at the Bank of Nevis on Main Street,
Yes.
the original Bank of Nevis, and then I had an RBTT account.
Yes.
Now the conversion takes place. Do I have now 1 card or 2 cards after the conversion takes place?
You're going
In
to
other words, do the 2 accounts automatically combine, or you have 2 different accounts
you'll have 2 different accounts
and
but
2 cards?
number 1 card.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
They'll be on the same system now. So you'll only need 1 card, but you'll still have the 2 accounts. So what happens is that those persons' accounts from the former RBTT or Bond Bank Ltd,
Yes.
it comes across onto our system, right? But there is no need for you to get a separate card because the 1 card would actually work.
Okay.
So it would fall under your profile.
Okay, so I'm a simpleton.
Yes.
Again, imagining, so if I have now 3 accounts
Yes.
or 4 accounts, 1 card?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes. And the thing is, Webbo, that the customer has the option to determine which card they want to link to the debit card. You don't have to link all of your cards. I'm sorry, all of your accounts. I tend to recommend to persons that they use their if they have a checking account, use their checking account, and you could move monies from your savings into your checking account, and you utilize the funds from the checking account. Link it to that ATM or the international debit card. Reason being, of course, because it's an international Visa debit card. People use it to shop with online and when they travel and so on. Of course, we all know that there are persons out there who try to hack persons' cards and so on. Although I just want to mention that these cards are what we call verified by Visa. So that's an additional security. And what we have done as well is that they have a chip, and that chip, you require a PIN now that you'd have to also utilize for those debit cards as well. So they're much more secure as well.
Okay, so
and just to add to Mr. Martin's point of having the card linked to your checking account, we have the enhanced online banking, which you could use to move your move your funds from account to account, and we have some very exciting things coming as well, which I don't want to mention here tonight.
why do people don't like to mention in advance the exciting thing?
Suspense.
Suspense is great.
Okay.
Suspense is great.
And I'm not sure, I think I'd asked it before, but we went to the caller. But as was evidenced by the call that we got, going forward, people are going to want to know, have questions. As I said, that we just couldn't, in this short period of time, handle or deal with. So how do they go about it?
Okay, so for the persons who have questions after today, we encourage you to either send an email to info@thebankofnevis.com. I repeat, info@thebankofnevis.com, or you could call these various numbers: 1-869-469-5564, 1-869-469-5564, or St. Kitts offices, 1-869-465-2259, 1-869-465-2259.
Okay. Mr. Jones, good evening, thank you for holding.
Yes, good evening.
Yes.
I have an account at Bank of Nevis. I don't have an account at RBTP, well, former bank. And I receive a check for RBTP. Can I change the check at Bank of Nevis?
Meaning after the conversion. I think he means after the
Could
conversion.
you go over the question again, please?
No, I have an account at Bank of Nevis. But I don't have an account at the RBTP bank. Somebody writes a check to me for RBTP bank. Can I change it at Bank of Nevis?
Yes.
After the
Yes.
conversion.
Yes, even now.
Even now.
Yes,
Okay.
even now. We don't have any restrictions whether on persons who have checks from other banks. You could actually come in and deposit your check, or you can actually cash it. We don't have any restrictions on that.
I told you, people have a lot of questions that they would like to ask that we will not be able to. By the way, if you have a question, you want to get it in quickly, because we don't have a lot of time left, and we certainly would like to address it for you. But while we await that, and you were talking about changes and stuff like that, so here we go again. Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening.
Okay.
You're on the air. Could you go ahead?
Yeah. Okay. I am an RBTP customer. I have senior citizen privilege as RBTP. When we change over, would my privilege continue?
Yes, so we have reviewed the products, and what would happen, I think, for RBTT, the name is slipping me for the product right now, but you will be considered our gold club member. So yes, you'll have privileges.
Okay. So the one of the main things that most businesses differentiate themselves by, or try to, is the customer service, right?
Yes.
Okay. How about that? How will we do with that? And I think, let me ask Mr. Jones that, because he's in that area. How will they do? Before you answer my question, let's take this. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Hello, good evening.
Yes.
I have an account, a loan at BTT Bank. I have a loan at Bank of Nevis. When I make my monthly payment, can I do it at one bank, at Bank of Nevis, for both loans?
Yes.
Yes,
After the conversion, you can make your payments at one. Well, you can make your you can make your payments at the Bank of Nevis, the original Bank of Nevis, as well as at Bond Bank Ltd.
Okay.
Yeah, because all of the accounts will be on the same system.
Okay, when using one card, when you swipe, they will give you an option which account you want to use.
Yes. What we are saying is that you would have to determine which account you want to link to your card. At the moment, I'm not sure which account you have linked to your card. But let's say, for example, you had it linked to your savings at the former RBTT. Then when it comes across, it will be linked to that savings account. But if you wish to change it, that is something that you can always come in and do as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Okay, so it might make sense if you were at the RBTT or the RBC on St. Kitts to go in and see, your banker.
Yes.
And say, well, okay, how this goes, this is what I want to do.
Yes.
That's correct, Webbo.
It's always good to see your bankers.
Webbo, just a couple more things. I just wanted to mention. I think Fayon would have already mentioned that we're encouraging customers for this weekend to try and get cash. So up to 5 p.m. on Friday, you'll be able to get your cash from the ATMs. That is, those persons for RBC, the former RBC and RBTT. You'll be able to get cash using your ATM card for former RBTT, and the same thing for RBC in St. Kitts. So we encourage person to try and have enough cash over the weekend. Now, the other thing I just wanted to mention as well, Webbo, is that after the conversion, even now I should say, we're very pleased and excited to inform our customers that we have reestablished Bank of America.
No wonder you said he was a heavyweight.
He was a heavyweight in the market.
You're supposed to give a drum roll.
All right, so let's get it now.
So we Bank of America. We established that account with Bank of America, and so now we can do the wires to Bank of America, and we're also pleased to say that we can accept U.S. checks drawn on Bank of America. Sorry, we can accept U.S. checks drawn on any bank in the U.S. And we can also issue U.S. drafts drawn on Bank of America. So those persons who receive U.S. dollar checks, you can bring them in now. We will accept them. And I also want to report, Webbo, that whereas most banks take 6 weeks to settle those checks, we're going to take 10 days. So that's another major benefit as well.
Can you repeat that, please? That last part there you said?
Not 6 weeks, but 10 days. Well.
10 days. Okay, we had somebody who was holding on. Could you try again? So that one is going to be, I'm sure, a lot of good news for a lot of folks in terms of the international connections and stuff like that, right?
Yes.
And the Bank of America is no easy bank. This is a heavyweight institution.
Yes, it is.
Right, so you have connections with that.
Yes.
And will be able to facilitate your international transactions.
Yes.
That's correct. Webbo, I also just wanted to mention as well that for just to ensure that in terms of the online banking, because we have an online banking product that is really exceptional, and customers are coming across from RBC and RBTT. Just let you know that the online banking product, you'll be able to do your wires online. You'll be able to move funds between your accounts at Bank of Nevis. You'll be able to move funds to another person's account at Bank of Nevis. But beyond that, you'll be able to move money online from Bank of Nevis to any bank that you want to in the Federation and any bank across the Eastern Caribbean. So any bank in the OACS that you want to move money to, you'll be able to do that online as well.
By internet banking?
The internet banking.
Okay, good evening. Thank you for holding.
Hello, good evening. Yes, I have an account at Bank of Nevis. Can I change or deposit a U.S. check?
Yes, that is what I just mentioned. Exciting news that yes, you can in fact deposit the US checks. We're accepting those US checks now.
I had a US check the other day, and I was in there, and they didn't take it, and I had to go to St. Croix just to change my check.
This happened very recently.
Yes, so that's right. So
I
just
had to spend so much money to go to St. Croix just to change the check.
well, it wasn't absolutely necessary for you to go to St. Croix. You probably could have spoken to me. I would have maybe be able to assist you in terms of maybe some advice. But nonetheless, it's important for you to know now that we're doing that now. So you wouldn't have to fly to St. Croix. So that saves you some money. And the money that you save, you can actually deposit it into your savings account at Bank of Nevis.
Okay,
Yes?
thank you.
Okay.
So problem solved, right?
Problem solved.
Okay.
We're here to solve problems, Webbo.
Yes. So there it is going forward. So a lot of exciting things happening, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what else we got?
The other thing, Webbo, is that we're at time as we wrap up. Electronic
Before you go, Mr. Martin, you see, I believe in customer service. Good
Of
evening,
course.
thank you
I
for
knew you was going to come back.
Good evening, thank you for holding.
Would the bank be issuing debit cards for US dollar savings account?
US dollar.
US dollar savings account?
Yes.
I'm not aware that the debit cards, I'm not aware that they would be linked to the US accounts, but we can investigate that and inform you. You can contact myself or Mr. Jones at the bank, 469-5564, and we'll confirm that for you. As of now, I'm not aware that we can link to the US. The debit cards, I believe, will be linked to the EC cards. But we can confirm that for you.
Okay, thank you very much.
But the other good thing too,
Thank you for holding. Go ahead.
Yes, good evening. I don't really have a question, but what I'm saying is that the program is so good and so informative. I think that a lot of persons out there would have a lot of questions that write into the email in info@Bank of Nevis to ask a particular question. It will benefit everybody if you have the program again and open the line so that people could ask the questions and everybody listening could benefit, because you might have 5 people having the same question and it would benefit everybody. I understand that you needed to do the program tonight because of what's happening this weekend with the ATM, but I think that you should consider doing the program again so that people with questions could call in and ask.
Well, you see, caller, I was working with you. That's why I'm going over time, because my time was up. And you notice I kept saying, Mr. Manager, hold on. Let me go to the, I believe it. Anyway, we appreciate that comment, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And of course, we'll be willing to come back another time, Webbo.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Martin. Thank you, caller.
Oh, okay, you're welcome.
Right.
Okay.
Very good idea.
Just to comment on the previous call before that one, so the debit cards, they will be linked to the EC only, so I would have confirmed that with the supervisor of cards. So yes, to EC only. And back to your question of customer service, given that we've acquired RBC and RBTT, we are currently, the staff currently, they're going through training. We have training happening right now. As I said previously, I'm going to say again tonight, Rome was not built in a day, but we're building Rome right now. The thing about customer service is you have to work every day at it. It's like a craft. So we're working on it. I'm going to tell the customers right now, it's not magic. So tomorrow you come, it's not going to be bam. But I promise you, in the coming days, weeks, months, you're going to feel the full extent of the Bond Strong experience.
And Webbo, you asked about how do you differentiate yourself?
Yes.
That is how we intend to differentiate ourselves, by the customer service. Of course, products and services and fees, but our major, from our strategic plan, we say, listen, we're going to differentiate ourselves by the customer service.
And you know where you're sitting. We do talk, but what type of talk we do, right?
Get results.
We expect that.
Good
Good evening, thank you for holding.
evening, Mr. Herbert. and the staff of Bank Nevis there. I'd like to compliment them for the great work they have been doing. I am still a little confused. I've been listening, and I've heard someone ask a question concerning the card linked to the U.S. account. Now, for persons who have a card at the RBTT linked to a U.S. who has a U.S. card, how do you deal with that?
Just gonna repeat the question.
They really have a card that is a US card.
Yes, go ahead again, yes. Caller, I don't think they got the your question. Could you ask your question again?
Someone has an account at the RBTT, has a card, debit card with for U.S. account. Now that you're transferring things to the Bank of Nevis, would you have a card here that is for the U.S. currency?
Well, what I would say is, from my understanding,
It's a credit card.
Yeah, okay. They seem to, they said they were hanging up, but they seem to be saying that they have a U.S. account at the current RBTT bank.
Right.
And they have a card, a debit card that's linked to it. They can use it. And they would like to know, when you make the conversion, if they will be able to continue. That seems to be what.
Yeah, but I don't think there's no debit card linked to the U.S. account.
Yes.
Perhaps they were talking about the credit card.
Credit card?
Yeah,
Credit card,
but the
yeah.
credit card, yes, there is actually that customer should have probably collected that credit card before, but already, because we do have the credit cards that we have already printed and we are issuing those. If the customer though has is interested, and I guess we can always confirm, if the customer is saying that they have a U.S. account at former RBTT and they have a they probably have an ATM card, because RBTT did not have debit cards.
Bingo.
So they may have had an ATM card. Now, I'm not sure if that card was actually linked to the U.S. account, but that's something that we could actually investigate for that customer. So we'd encourage the customer to contact us so that we could clarify for them.
So if they can come in or call, right?
They can come in or they can give us a call, and we would be happy to assist them.
Yes, I hope the customer is listening still. So give me a call at 1-869-662-6405. That's 662-6405, and it's fair on Joe. So we'll have the answer for you by tomorrow.
Okay. All right. So, Mr. Martin, now let's get back to you. So, finally, we wanted also to mention.
Yeah, two things I want to also mention, Webbo. One is that persons can also now, at the Bank of Nevis, with the online banking, move funds between a U.S. account and an EC account and vice versa. So if you're online, you're doing your internet banking, and you want to transfer monies between US and EC accounts, you can do that as well. So that allows you, we now allow you to do that. The other thing as well is that as far as electronic funds transfers are concerned, you can now you can process your electronic funds transfers. There will be some changes for those persons, those RBTT and RBC customers. There will be some changes with the routing number, but just to let you know that is, you can still actually do that. You can process it in branch, and you can also do it online as well.
Yeah, and you are also integrating the internet banking for RBTT and RBC into the Bank of Nevis.
No,
so if they had an internet banking,
right,
which they used to do at those two banks, then what?
The internet banking for RBC and RBTT will no longer function after this weekend, but they would automatically go over to the Bank of Nevis online banking. However, we are still we're encouraging customers to come in and sign up, or send us an email, and we could make arrangements for you to sign up. As I said, Webbo, the expectation is that we would be able to transfer, and everybody would automatically get the online banking. We have an enhanced online banking that does all of these things I was talking about. But we're still encouraging persons that it would be useful for them to either come in or send us an email, give us a call about signing up for the online banking.
Okay, so here's a direct question. If I have currently, I bank at RBTT.
Yes.
And I do internet banking. Should I come in to the Bank of Nevis on Main Street and have my internet banking rectified?
Yes, we would.
It would be automatic that I
yes.
just continue to do internet banking.
Yes, it should be. We expect it to be automatic, but we would still encourage persons to come in, because one of the things that we're using the opportunity to do is to also educate our customers about the use of the online banking, as well as to get some additional information from the customers. So we still encourage customers to come in and have a conversation with us, or give us a call so that we could discuss with you your digital banking needs. The online banking, as I said, we expect that it will be transferred automatically, but we still want to engage the customers as well.
So you are not accustomed to going into the Bank of Nevis on Main Street. You want to now go in because it's amalgamated, right? Now, if I want to come in to get my account regularized or whatever, get accustomed to, do I go into the bank and go into the teller's line?
No.
Just to tell them that I came to do X,
No.
Y, Z.
So when you come into the bank, you're going to go to customer service. That's on your right hand side. It's the shorter line, and they will rectify everything for you as it relates to your online banking and any other account queries, etc.
Okay.
Also, Webbo, they can still go to the original RBTT bank for assistance as well.
Okay.
Yes, their customer
Thank you
service.
for holding. Good evening.
Good evening. I think you had answered my question. I was just going to ask if I'm going into town now to go to the bank, if there's only would be one place, one specific place that I should go. But you just answered it. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Right. So they can still actually go to the former RBTT bank for now. Once we convert the systems, Webbo, all the accounts will be on the same platform. So whether you come to the Main Street branch or you go to the Bond Bank Ltd or the former RBTT, it would be the same.
Either location.
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Any of the 4 locations, actually. Yeah, so not limit ourselves now.
Okay. So well, let me ask this. If you are currently, your accounts and everything are at the Bank of Nevis, you had no association with RBTT or RBC, because there might be less traffic on Chapel Street. Can you go?
I knew the question was coming, you know.
What about so both banks would be on the same systems, right? And so it would be possible for customers to be served at both locations. We're still encouraging the majority of our customers to come to Main Street. Reason being that the staff at the former RBTT, Bond Bank Ltd, the staff is limited, is less, and so therefore we would not want that you go across and then the lines become longer over there because people are now migrating to Chapel Street as opposed to Main Street.
And then the people who normally go over there get upset because the lines are too long now.
That's correct. But one of the things that we mentioned that the Webbo, one of the things that we're trying to encourage customers to do is to actually get online, use the online banking, because it takes time to come to visit the bank and stand in line, stand in the teller line and so on. I mean, we've been working to reduce the amount of time that persons stand in line, but if persons could use the ATMs, if they could use their debit card, they can use their credit card, We have invested significant sums of money in online banking, and Fen will tell you that very soon we also have the mobile banking coming shortly.
So you gave it.
But he has done a tease already, so I can say that, but he's not going to tell us any more than that. He's teasing.
But just to piggyback off what Mr. Martin would have said, I know you want to come in and experience the great customer service from the staff in the bank at Nevis, but go online, get your debit card. Trust me, it's fast, it's easy. Going into the ATM to get your cash, that's probably 1 minute. Going online to transfer funds to different accounts, whether it's in bank internally or other institutions, that's probably 1.5 minutes. Standing in line, it's longer than that. So I encourage everyone to go online and use the other channels of banking.
Okay, so having done all that and said all that, and you have questions, you like to get things sorted out, once more, somebody else is still, but let's make this our final call, right? Good evening, thank you for holding.
Good evening, I am a customer of Bank of Nevis, and it looks like we are having new guests, and we welcome them. One thing that I have a problem with is you're telling us to use the online services and the teller machines and so on. I'm a great user of them because I do not like lines. But what I have a problem with is that when you deposit by the machine, sometimes it takes 2 days for your money to go on your account. So if you could speed up that process, that would be grateful, seeing that you're going to get a lot more people.
Okay. Thank you very much for that feedback. We'll look into it tomorrow.
Okay. All right, thank you. Something tells me that they wanted to talk to you. The folks want to talk to you. Okay, so finally, Mr. Jones.
Well, in my closing statement, I just want to encourage everyone to join the Bond Strong family. We have 2 great campaigns. It'd be remiss of me if I didn't do a bit of selling while I'm here. We have the land loan campaign. Get 100% financing, own your very special piece of St. Kitts and Nevis. And we also have the Swipe to Win Big, our credit card campaign. 6 great prizes, 3 in St. Kitts, 3 in Nevis. And I just want to say and encourage all the customers to have cash on hand, as we're going to be going through conversion starting September 10th at 5 p.m. And there are a lot of exciting things ahead for all of our customers, and that is why we say Bond Strong.
And Mr. Martin?
Thank you, Webbo. In closing, I just want to say to our customers that there are good things happening at Bank of Nevis. There are exciting things happening at Bank of Nevis. We're still here committed to improving the quality of life for our people, make sure that they continue to live their best life possible. I want to say, Webbo, thank you to our staff. We have a group of very hard-working staff who has been working late nights, 11 o'clock, midnight, and on Saturdays and Fridays.
And Sundays.
And Sundays. We really appreciate the work that the staff has been doing. We have an exceptional group of people, and we thank them for that. We have been fortunate in that we've been able to convert 2 banks in 5 months. I don't think that is something that anybody has ever done. It's an exceptional achievement, and so we want to thank the staff. We want to thank our customers for their patience. And Webbo, I want to end by thanking you and the One Radio team as well for the continued work that you are doing. Whenever we call you, Webbo, you always respond, and we want to thank you and the rest of the One Radio team for your support over the years, and assure you that we will continue to collaborate and partner with One Radio. Thank you very much, Webbo.
Thank you for coming, and anytime you want to come back, the customers said they want to hear from you a little more often, so you always have a place here. Okay, thank you. And finally, over the weekend, you might, a little niggling here and there, but in a few days we'll be
back up to normal.
Okay. Everett Martin, the General Manager of the Bank of Nevis, and the Marketing Officer, Fian Jones of the Bank of Nevis. We thank them, and we'll take a break and come back with the second segment of this program.
Saint kids, keep it sweet. Keep listening to Vaughn.
Builders Paradise is offering a large variety of floor and wall tiles at very competitive prices. Builders Paradise has over 2 million pieces in stock, lots of different styles to choose from. Whether you're renovating or tiling a new house, Builders Paradise has what you need. Wow! Oh, and remember, we're open all day Saturday to serve you better. This is something that you can't refuse. Visit Builders Paradise today at the C.A. Paul Southwell Industrial Site in St. Kitts or call them at 466-4938.
Back on this episode of Thought That Get Results, our first segment featuring the Bank of Nevis Limited doing their conversion this weekend. They're asking you to cooperate with them. We featured the General Manager, Mr. Everett Martin, and the Marketing Officer, Mr. Fian Jones. Your phone calls on 1-869-469-1616 and or 1700. The second segment, heavyweights are in. By the way, just in case you missed it, the number for the Bank of Nevis, if you got some questions going forward, is 1-869-469-5564, as they expressed when they were here a little earlier. Now, Edric W. Stanley, good evening.
Good evening, Webbo. How you doing?
I'm good.
I was just reminding Mr. Jones and Fiancé Jones, and Mr. Martin, that they told me they came out that they were sitting in my chair. So I told them it's 33 years. So
Thank you.
Anyhow, well, good evening, and good evening to my fellow panelists, and good evening to those who listen to us religiously on the World Wide Web and throughout the Caribbean Basin. This evening, of course, I listened to a clip that tells me somebody just beginning to get it. It came from the mouth of the Prime Minister, former Prime Minister, that he is now advising people to take the vaccination, and as a result, I am heartened by that. Long time ago, a gentleman told us as small boys, we were too big to be so small. And the interpretation of that was, some people are too wise to be so unwise. That is my interpretation. So, back on the dissertation, I am heartened again by the utterances of the former Prime Minister regarding the protocols, and now he has come full circle. And of course, I hope those who hear those words coming from the Prime Minister would take action and follow through. The reason for that is that I go back into one of my coined phrases. Those people who got influence and they've got an opinion, And that opinion is not spilling truthfulness. Those people could be influenced to follow the route of the person who is uttering those words, and as a result would be completely misled. Well, I don't want to go any further at this juncture.
Yeah, it's interesting.
But I listen to you and Mark continue telling those who have not taken the jab, please do. But they've got all kinds of reasons for telling you what they have heard and telling you what they have done or what they have not done, but yet you would come back and counter and corner them. Not only here in the studio, but also some of the callers. And they pay very little attention to the recommendations that you would have uttered. I leave it there for now.
And they can't fool me.
They can't fool you.
You know, I put that among the great quotations or utterances. I told a fellow about a couple of weeks ago. Edric said that they can't fool me. Anyway, that's a light moment to begin with. Conrad Naya Libert, good evening.
Good evening, Webbo, and good evening to my colleagues around the table. Welcome back, Mr. Stanley. It's good to see you. Webbo, I'm happy to be here once again, and I say more power to the Bank of Nevis. I feel proud.
Dr. Patricia Bartlett, good evening.
Good evening, Webbo. Good evening to my fellow panelists. Good evening to the entire listening and viewing audiences. And I would like to join Naya and associate myself with the comments he made as it relates to Bank of Nevis. That has been my bank from the very first time I started banking. That would have been where I made my stake, and I've been well served at the Bank of Nevis. So thanks for the invitation to join you tonight, Webbo.
Okay. We don't have a lot of time left because that same Bank of Nevis get into your time, but we always have time ahead of us. But you know, to go on to the first thing that Edric put on the table, and you know, as the years are rolling on, Edric, I'm losing my touch with your meaning. I took a bet on you last night and last week, and Naya won me. Because Naya made a statement in reference to you, and I went contrary, and you called in and you agreed with Naya. And now tonight I thought that you would have zeroed in first of all on the song that I played, and you would have expounded on it, and I lost again. So, but sometimes I lose. That's not a problem. But to the comment that you made, I just wanted, it's very interesting, but I just wanted to point out something perchance you did not know or didn't remember. That's one of the reasons why I am passionate on paying attention to rumors. Because at the end of the day, you never know who started it. Because when everything, as you say, comes full circle, everybody ends up on the winning side. And I would argue, based on the comment that you made, you said that some people are now coming in this particular arena or area. And I challenge you to tell me where they came from. Because you're going to get the argument that everybody was always in this particular arena. That's my comment.
Which is not, if I am following you clearly and correctly, everybody has not been always in this arena where we are.
But what I'm saying is that going forward, and we got to wait for time, you are not going to hear of anybody who was in the other arena. I'm challenging you with that, but we have to wait on time so that can be revealed.
Noah spent 120 years preaching and telling people at that time in the past that a flood is coming. 120 years. It was it Jonah? God sent Jonah to, can't remember the area, but he said to God, I'm not going there. Those people there, I can't.
But I don't know if you're following me. What I'm saying is, going forward, in the coming days, months, weeks, years, you're not going to find the persons who you claim were anti-vax.
It would be rather shameful for them not to admit to their folly.
Well, let me ask you this. When you heard of the conversion that you just related to, was it pointed out that I or we were in that thinking, and now we have moved to this thinking, or did it indicate that we were always of this thinking?
Well, I don't know about you.
No, work with me.
Let me finish.
Okay. Yeah, but you got my question though?
Yes, I believe I got it.
You believe?
I listened from small to people who I emulate, especially teachers. That is why I am where I am today. And when you're listening to people who you have given the credit of knowing more than you know, and they make logical sense, the science of reasoning, you don't go the other side. There's no room, no entrance for you to escape. Therefore, you have to follow through. As a result, I am saying you have to be an attentive student, listen to those who know more than you, and follow them.
Why do I get the feeling you didn't understand my question?
Well, maybe I summarized it and come up with some procedural...
In other words, you formulate my question according to the answer you want to give.
Well, no, based on how I conceptualize it. All right?
Okay, all right. Just leave it there. I guess maybe in the weeks and months to come, I can perhaps revisit what I just pointed out to you. Because I don't think that you got it.
Well, again, it's based on what I've conceptualized, based on what I heard, and ultimately the answer I gave.
What I'm saying is that you are saying that some persons have now come full circle. Did you say that?
Yes.
Okay. But what I'm saying is it not true that the persons who you're saying have come full circle have indicated that they have always been full circle?
No, Webbo. Full circle is that they started there and they are back there, meaning they continue to go around.
Okay, well, let me put it differently. The persons that you say are now holding a particular position.
It's quite the opposite.
Right, but didn't they indicate that they have always had that position?
Well, I can't agree with you. I can't say yes, because I know it's not true.
Okay, now you want to get in.
Yeah, but I just want you guys not to make it so hard on those who want to change their mind. If they want to change their mind, don't make it difficult. Don't make it something to be ashamed of. You know why we are doing this. Really, it seems like, as Mr. Stanley say, there should be a shame or something words to that extent. But I don't see why if somebody decide to change their mind about taking the vaccine. If they have once said they wouldn't, they was not going to take it, and they've changed their mind, that's okay. That's what life is about. So I mean, you guys should be welcoming these people, and all is well in that respect. I don't see why one should be publicly ashamed if they decide to change their mind. About the vaccine, I understand what you're saying, Webbo, that some would say that the truth is we were never against it. I can't speak for them. I can only speak for myself. So I'm never against the vaccine. Those who want to take the vaccine, they take the vaccine. My issue was about people bearing consequences imposed on them by employers and government and neighbors and society because they do not take the vaccine or they don't want to take the vaccine. That's the part that concerns me. But anybody want to change their mind about the vaccine? Anybody who taking the vaccine, we all one people, you know, and we got to work together. So I don't really feel good to develop this feeling that it looks like shame should be or may be brought upon those who are willing or who want to change their mind about dealing with the vaccine.
My thing is, I was at the Mr. Evelyn's funeral, and as the Prime Minister was passing, he rolled down his window and I said, look, make it mandatory. No, I didn't think people heard me. Heard me. And therefore, I went to the court, saw all these young ladies in there who are attempting to say they're not going to take it. Anyway, fortunately, the gentleman who was there with me heard what I told the Prime Minister. And I said it here before I saw the Prime Minister at Mr. Evelyn's funeral. And I'm saying you have to mandate it so that people would understand that this is something you don't play with. Now, as time has passed, we now understand that there's a debate going on, and they're saying there are two jurists well qualified from our region, and the debate is that there is no law on the books which would give them the authority to mandate it, and as a result the information came that there are two jurists, distinguished jurists, who said yes, there is a law, and I am hoping that they will come forward and educate us as to the routing so as to get it mandated. I say so.
Where is jurists from?
From our region. Maybe we got some bright people out in Nevis. They might be living in England. They might be living in Germany.
No.
Well, we have one of the barons who is a distinguished jurist. They never mentioned his name, but at the same time, we can put him in the category, and he might be able to show us or tell us as to the routing, as to how to get it mandated legally.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Good evening, Mr. Webber and your panelists. Good evening to all the listeners at home. Now, I think it's yesterday or the day before, I heard a news item on the Caribbean News in which it was stated that the OECS Secretariat had informed the government of the OECS that they could mandate the vaccine, that there was legal grounds. Did you hear the news item?
Yes.
Because I wondered if people heard it. Because they said they did the research and they have now given actually said, well, who want to do it, but it is legal. So I don't know. Did you discuss it before? Because I was listening to the cricket. Did you discuss that before?
No. We had a segment with the Bank of Nevis. So we're doing something. So
I didn't miss much then.
no, you didn't miss much of this segment.
Alright, then, so maybe they could tell us what they think about it, because
well,
they have done the research and everything. So expect it.
Yeah, one of the things I don't know, Carla, that might be important and interesting is to see whether or not, before we get to that, people can discuss it as we've been doing, flesh it out, and then come to, some sort of conclusion. Some may argue acceptance, so that we don't have to get to that stage. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's true. That is true, because, and even looking at the numbers accelerating, I mean, that should cause concern. It should cause concern, because, I mean, I never expected Nevis to go so. Saying it's on neither, think it was more likely, increase. And I think we're just looking on casually. I get the impression people just looking on casually to see where the number will end. Some say, well, 2000. But there was also a program I heard, I think it's ILTA played the thing on freedom, where they were talking about the long-term effect, long COVID, and the effect that the COVID has on people who have been infected and recovered. And it sounds dreadful. I mean, people say, oh, let everybody get it. It is not so cool and easy. I mean, it sounds some of the signs, the fatigue, and they were talking about how people suffer fatigue and different things. They said about 200, Yeah,
but you see, Caller, that information has always been out there. But what has happened is we have sort of broken down into almost two sides, where that information, if you were to tell people who quote unquote are anti-vax, they will say, oh, that's nonsense. And then
every day.
Right, so
it's an insanity, the things that some people say, I think is a mental issue some of them have. Sorry to say so.
I don't know. I more think that some projects are a little more difficult than others, and I like to put in the work. So I think we're gonna get there. It's gonna be hard and so on, but
people are going to suffer.
Right, but what I'm saying is that when you have a war, for instance, you get casualties, but then somebody wins.
That's true. But you see, when you have a small population, I didn't think our people think it's straight. Yeah, and then school going to reopen. That's another issue. And you have teachers. I taught for years, I was a teacher for years. Even after I was a statistician, I taught in the evenings. And I taught from kindergarten to university first year. Children will come up to you as a teacher. It's just normal, and you're not vaccinated. When you write on the board and you touch the child, different things and so. I am thinking those on the front line, especially teachers and those who work in the nursery and with the preschool children, should have a little more concern. But I think we are selfish people. If you cannot, remember that there are some people who cannot, But if for no reason you decide you're not taking it, but you are in close contact with others, then to me that is almost criminal.
It is.
That's how I see it. All right then.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
Well, I just wanted to make a small comment as it relates to, and I think that Naya would have made reference to it as well, about segregating people. And I think what I'm hearing now from the WHO is a definitive shift away from marginalizing or ostracizing those who don't necessarily agree with you. on either side. And it is unfortunate, and I think me and Motley would have spoken to it. It's unfortunate that we have to be letting COVID divide us, because it is a challenge in itself. And to compound it, we are divided between those who decide that this is one tool that they would rather not participate in, while others say, well, I'm participating in it, and so if you're not doing it, then I'm going to characterize you as being selfish. Just to add a little clarity to what Sylvie said a while ago, she said she thinks it's selfish. I don't think you should be characterizing people in that way. It is a selfish act, yes, to take it. It is a selfish act not to take it. It is all about self. It is about self-determination. It is about having the choice to choose either which way. And if it is you think that someone who has the disease, who has been vaccinated, is less of a risk than someone who has the disease, who is not vaccinated, then you have not necessarily been keeping abreast with what the science is saying. What the science is saying is, either way, whether you're vaccinated or you're not vaccinated, you have the same level of risk of transmitting the disease to someone who themselves is vulnerable, whether that person be vaccinated or unvaccinated. So to say that a teacher is selfish because she or he didn't take the vaccine and they're going to be of a higher risk to a child is nonsense, because the science is suggesting that a vaccinated teacher, preacher, or whomever it is have the same level of risk of communicating the disease to someone else.
Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Yeah, good night again, Dr. Bartlett. What you said to me is also irrational, because you cannot say they have the same risk.
But they do. They do. The science, the data is saying.
How do you measure risk?
The data is saying, that if you have the disease and you have been vaccinated, the viral load that you're carrying is equivalent to the viral load that someone else who is not vaccinated is carrying.
Where you heard that one?
Where you heard that one? Well, maybe you should visit the WHO site.
I have been listening all weekend,
Well, you don't have to listen to me.
The person who is not vaccinated, remember that the vaccination gives you a certain, much more. It also prevents you from becoming critically ill.
Yes.
Right. So how you have the same risk?
No. I'm talking about the risk of transmission. We're talking about two levels of risk. You're talking about the risk of transmission to someone else, because you were making the point.
But it's not only the issue, not only transmission,
But that is the issue that you brought up. You said that a teacher is selfish because.
Okay, why don't we do this, Dr. Bartlett? Go ahead, and then Miss Caller. Yes.
You were making the point, madam, that if a teacher is unvaccinated, then that teacher somehow is selfish, because if a child comes up to touch the teacher or whatever, you're talking about whatever interaction they would have, you're thinking that that teacher, because the teacher is unvaccinated, naturally that teacher is positive for COVID? I don't understand how you could make that jump. So I'm saying to you that this data is saying up to this point that whether you're vaccinated or you're unvaccinated, if you're unfortunate enough to contract COVID, you have the same level of risk of passing it on to someone who is vulnerable, whether they are vaccinated or not vaccinated.
So what are you saying? It doesn't matter if the teacher is vaccinated or not, teaching the children? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying it is unfair.
Not just that.
No. I'm saying that it is. You can't ask the question and tell me how to answer it. I'm saying that it is unfair for you to characterize that person as being selfish, because when that person takes on the vaccine, it is about self-protection. It's about saying, okay, I'm going to take the vaccine.
Self-protection means you are going into a situation where you have vulnerable children. This goes beyond selfish. As I said, it's almost criminal.
I don't think you quite understand the concept. I don't think you understand the concept of transmission.
I understand what you're saying,
But I don't think but you're not getting it. So why are you stuck?
Person. Look at it. Selfish is a personal thing.
Yes.
It goes beyond the person to the influence and whatever you have on those around you. You actually gone in there unvaccinated. Now vaccination have a higher, a low risk. Let me use risk, right? A low risk of spreading it.
No, that's not true.
You hear that equal?
No, the science is not saying that.
That's the science of that equal.
The science is saying right now is indeterminate, but the potential is there because you're carrying the same viral load. So if you're vaccinated and you're carrying the same viral load as someone who is not vaccinated carrying the same viral load, just you talk about logic. Apply a little logic here.
How can it be done?
I'm sorry?
How can you be carrying the same viral load when you have received the vaccine?
That is what the science is saying, Miss Henry. You have to keep up with the science. It is changing every day.
I'm keeping up. You seem to be suggesting that it doesn't matter. You seem to be suggesting it doesn't matter whether or not the teacher is vaccinated teaching children.
What matters is your status, whether you're COVID positive or negative.
All right, darling, I got my child not in your class.
No, you're
just joking, eh?
But I want to teach you first. I mean, it is difficult to get you to understand, but I'm sure your child will get it.
Well, take it seriously.
Yes.
Because you know hearing children, children we never thought. So that all the children can't get it. The children can't this. So you're walking in, are you unvaccinated self? Mingling with children because the children reach out, you know. I thought from small to big. Even in high school, the same young lady when they come and they touch you up and they hug you up.
But you're not getting
There's going to be physical touching, social interaction. And you are there.
But you're not getting it, Miss Henry.
There's a percentile.
Anyway, darling, I wish I pray for our children, I pray for the nation.
Yes, but you see, the thing is, we have to now try to find out ways of protecting our vulnerable, and it is not necessarily about the vaccination status. It boils down to us.
And stop making excuses for sensible people, you hear me?
It's not about making excuses. It's about keeping up with the science. No, darling. It's about keeping up with the science. And if we don't keep up with the science, it means that the modalities that we put in place not going to be proportionate to the risks that we are facing.
Are you satisfied with what happening in Nevis now?
The risks that we are facing? No, of course not. The risk that we're facing now, we can't just go about and say vaccinate, because even people who are vaccinated still have the potential to pass it. No, they do not. Where are you getting your information? Your information is dated. You need to refresh. Your information is dated.
Please encourage the people, all who teach to go back to school, please protect the people's children.
Yes, and I'm an advocate for that, and I've said that. And last week when I said I made the same point. We need to make sure that we get testing in place. We need to be able to test people to find out whether you are vaccinated or unvaccinated. You're going to be subjected to the same level of testing.
Yeah, but last week you suggested that they test the children.
But you have to test the children.
Using what?
The teachers. The test.
Using what? Actually, using what?
Using what? You can use the rapid testing to screen. If you have 100 students, you do the rapid test for all 100 of them. If you get 10 positive, then you use those 10, you subject those to the PCR testing. You don't have to subject the whole 100 of them to the thing. You can do pool testing. There are different ways that you can go about testing and be effective with it. But we have not been doing that. All we are saying is vaccinate. And even in a population that is highly vaccinated, we are seeing the science is showing, or the data is showing now, that you still have people coming down with the disease.
I understand that, but the unvaccinated pose a greater risk.
But you don't have any merit for what you're saying. You're saying that is based on some dated information you're carrying. You need to refresh.
Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Yes, good evening. I would like to comment on the discussion that's going on right now.
Yes.
A vaccinated person, as I agree with Ms. Wadley, can carry the same viral load as an unvaccinated person. As a matter of fact, I think a vaccinated person who contracts COVID and spreads it is more dangerous than an unvaccinated person who contracts COVID and spread it. And a vaccinated teacher can also come to the classroom and be COVID positive, and that can have an effect on her students, not necessarily the other way around. Because I think vaccinated people, they feel like they don't have to wear their mask, they don't have to that, and they're more careless. The unvaccinated persons are more careful because they feel like they're uncovered and they need to protect themselves from this virus. That's my contribution.
Okay, thank you.
The percentile amount that is there with reference to the number of children that are contracting the disease is a testimony to the science, is a testimony to the science. And if, for whatever reason, the numbers are up there for students, or children rather, who are contracting the disease as compared to in the past, then it tells you the numbers are greater with those who are now contracting the disease as to those in the past.
What are you talking about, though? The risk obviously is higher now. We have many more people in the population. All I needed was just one person to come in with the disease, you know, because this thing spreads exponentially. It's
because
like
the virus is smarter than we are.
Yes, so to make a point that, well, okay, go ahead.
I'm finished.
The thing is, we're going to have to be serious about sending back our children to school without a testing regime in place. Seriously. Because these kids are very vulnerable, as we are seeing now, as it relates to the Delta variant.
Okay, let me take this, please. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Good evening, Webbo. Dr. Bartlett is a cook. If you get if somebody get the virus, and vaccinate the people, to not supposed to work with the vaccinated people, because if they want to catch it, they can give the one who are unvaccinated and they can get in trouble. Already, when if he was Mr. Grantley, Dr. Bartlett was in Mr. Grantley's position, I want you to tell me how and when he would act against this pandemic. Because she's keeping a criticize the people. And we try and encourage the people to vaccinate. It's still keeping politics into it. That's my question.
Okay, thank you.
You want me to respond to that, Webbo?
If you will.
Before I even respond, let me just take 1 second just to say something. In order for somebody to, and this is something that I kind of borrow off the internet, in order for you to be able to insult me, it means that I must value what you have to say. And what the chap said a while ago is, never mind. I find this laughable. But anyway, I'll leave that. Webbo, people, I'm trying to talk to the populace as a scientist, okay? It has nothing to do with me and Mr. Brantley or anybody else. It is not a personal thing. Let us discuss the issues. Don't try to characterize who I am, because you're not in a position to do so, gentlemen. Okay? So let us stick to the issue. The issue is, what is the risk that is the children going back to school? What is the risk that they're being exposed to? And what I'm saying is, you can have a child who comes into classroom not knowing that they're positive, because maybe their parents may even be vaccinated, and that child could be the seed. All you need is one to start the process, and you can have this whole school in a short order. In a couple of days, it could be throughout the whole school, just because of the nature of how this virus could be communicated. So what I proposed last week, and what I'm going to continue to propose, is that we make sure, sending back the kids to school, that we have a testing regime in place. To do otherwise would be reckless, because we need to be able to detect early detection of this disease wherever it shows up in the classroom, or whether it is amongst the teachers or the students. We need to be able to detect early, isolate those people who are carrying, so that school can go on. If we don't do that, it means that we're flying blind.
Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Hey, Webbo, how are you doing, man?
All right.
I just want to respond to what Ms. Barton said. I'm kind of confused. Whereas I agree with her as far as testing. Testing is very important, yes. But then, once you finish do all this testing, what do you do? What do you do after all this testing? Whether you're positive or negative, what do you do? You still come back to, you have to take some action as far as either taking the vaccination or not. What do you do to protect yourself? It's all well to say test, but what do you do after the testing is done? That is the question.
Okay.
All right?
Yes.
Easy.
Okay.
I think people are confusing the issues. I think we conflating issues here. When we say the objective for me for testing is so that we can detect early when we have the disease in place, so those people who would be the carriers, you move them out of the population. If they're in school, we move them early, and you put something, you at least you protect the other people around. If you don't, you have to be constantly testing. It's not about just testing today and then next 2 months you just come back to test again. That's not the way it works. It has to be an ongoing process. They're going to work out the logistics as to whether they're going to do it on a weekly basis, a bi-weekly. I don't know what they can afford to do, but we must do something. We can't send kids to school and wait until someone gets sick enough, because the disease is, for the most part, is very silent. In that 80% of the people could have the disease and not show any symptoms of it, and that is scary, because by the time the person, out of the 20%, by the time one gets to the hospital showing symptoms, it means that you have now to go look for the other 80% who would have been associates of that person.
But then, to be fair, Dr. Bartlett, though, the caller asked a question differently to how I asked it last week.
Which caller?
The last caller.
Which was?
Which you were responding to. The question the caller asked is that you do this testing, and then after you've done the testing. But the question I asked last week was, you do this testing and then what?
Webbo,
right? No, work with me.
Transmission.
Yeah, work with me. No, so the caller now is asking, so you do this testing, and after you've done this testing, then what, right? Now, you said it's up to them what they want to do, but you're the one who are proposing this testing, so maybe what you should do is give us the plan that you have, that you do this testing, and then what?
No. Webbo, I'm talking about how are we going to protect, because the thing is, I propose the question. The question I propose is, how are we going to protect our children going back to school and keep the schools open? Because this is a vulnerable population that has not been vaccinated. If you think that vaccine hesitancy was high at the onset of the campaign for the adults, I bet you it would not be much lower as it relates to parents giving consent for their children to be vaccinated. Given the experience that we've had and the fact that the vaccination in children has been even of a lesser period of time for us to get data. So I'm just projecting. All right?
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, when you're going to treat them the same way, if somebody is positive in the population, you take them out, you isolate them and do whatever they do now, which is doing the contact tracing and all the rest of it, to make sure that other people who have been in contact with them would not themselves be infected. So I don't understand what question you're posing now as to what then. It is an ongoing thing, and the thing is to break transmission. If we can get a handle on breaking the transmission, then there will be less people exposed. And that is what I think that people are missing. You're like, okay, vaccinate. There are people who have been vaccinated and they're still in the transmission train. They're still in the chain of transmission because for whatever reason they would have, become, I'm not blaming anybody because you can't see the virus. I'm not blaming anybody for becoming sick. But for some reason you have people who are vaccinated who become sick as well. What we're trying to do is, okay, the vaccination is to prevent, it's a selfish thing. The vaccination is to prevent each person who takes it, prevent you from going to the hospital. It prevents you from getting severe COVID and prevents you from possibly dying. Mind you, people who would have been vaccinated die too. Whether they die of the same of COVID or if they have other causes, I don't know. I'm not in a position to establish that. But that is what the data is showing. Once you're vaccinated, you stand a better chance of not ending up in the hospital. And that is a concern that I think, for the most part, that is being expressed here in our dialogue, in that people are more concerned that the hospital doesn't get overrun. But you have to acknowledge that we must, in order for us to get a handle on this thing, we must break transmission. So that's why people who have been using draconian means like shutting down, lockdowns and those kind of things. And we don't need for it to get to the point where we have to get to, but you're hearing about this place closed down, that place closed down. We don't need to operate like that. We need to get the handle on breaking the transmission.
Good.
And in order to do that.
Yes, good evening. Thank you for holding.
Yes, I'm back. Sorry to come soon. I am glad Dr. Bartlett made that last point about the health system. We don't have to go far to look or to listen or to learn what is happening in what we call the larger, let's talk about the Caribbean, even Jamaica. We have how many? 23, I think it's 23 ventilators we have? I think it's 23. How many Nevis has? Oh, nobody knows.
No, I don't know the exact numbers, but yeah, go
Five
ahead.
or something like that. I'm not too sure, but I know they talk about 23. The other day they had 5 in Nevis and 9 in St. Kitts. Not even countries that have the ventilator now, they now have problem with the gas. The oxygen, that's what I mean. Do we want to subject our people to that? Come here, we gotta get serious, We have to get serious. They have what? I mean, in Barbados, they're now having problem. The company that is producing the oxygen, they don't have enough. And these are not just numbers. These are people. And when you begin to see that the effect of the COVID and our own behavior could cause somebody's death when we contributed, we take a different angle. Because when I listened to a nurse from Jamaica, I think she was on crying her heart out. They now have to decide, as she said, they have to wait until somebody dies to get a ventilator. I mean, do we really want that? So while we're holding our circular arguments, and we have all sorts of conspiracy things, and what about the non-vaccinated? Would you require them to be tested at their own expense? Because if you're going to test the children, you have to test the teachers before they even come in the gate. Because they pose a great threat to the children. So I have not heard about testing the teachers who pay for the test, how often. I mean, we got to get serious,
True.
It bothers me when, I'm 73. It's like they want to take out all the old people. Now it's taking out children. This is not no theoretical discussion. It's no longer that. This is now a matter of life and death. And the quicker we get to that, you see when they start the vaccination in St. Kitts, after the things start to spread. The same thing is going to happen with the children. Oh, not my child, until you hear the whole school shut down. And some children seriously ill. Then they're going to be rushing. We have got to be proactive. Then we come, so-and-so responsible. We are responsible, and the quicker we get to seriously, when I hear about Jamaica, even today in the news, on Winnipeg News, in another country, nurses and them crying, they say, look, they're tired of people dying. It grieves the heart. But because we have not had a lot of death, we breezing through. I bet you every year, 3-4 children die, you see how long the line is. If your child is not physically well, take to the doctor. I wouldn't just say walk up and sing your child. Some children have asthma, you know what I mean? But if there is no logical reason, and this thing has been tested, how many children in the U.S. have taken the Pfizer? We're talking statistics, the data, as my friend loved to say.
But you should have an appreciation for data. They're using the same data in the UK, but
I ask you.
No, I don't know. I do not know.
Children?
I do not know because I didn't have any interest in it. I did not have any direct interest in it, in knowing the exact number of children in the United States.
We need to get serious. I think we just playing, you know.
No, but
playing. I have a 6-year-old granddaughter. I mean, see, we're not taking this thing serious, you know. You having all kind of a theoretical talk, one lot of insane reasoning. When are we going to get serious? And all the teachers who are out there, and all those who are nurses and doctors, I would tell people do not go in any doctor office if they're not vaccinated. Don't go in there. Because you have to go put your hand in your chest to test your heartbeat all over you. Until we get serious, I mean, we're going to die in Jamaica. What's happening in Jamaica, do you know? Do our people pay attention to this thing? Jamaica is in the Caribbean.
Okay.
All right, then.
All right, thank you.
A poignant question was posed to Pat, and I expected her to answer it.
Which question?
What do you do after you've tested?
Oh, dear Jesus. Hi. There's a protocol in place right now. If after you're tested, if you are positive, they isolate you.
Good.
They monitor you. They give you whatever treatment. I do not know. I am not one on the task force team. I don't know what they do to you. But I know that you're treated. So what else do you want from me? What else do you want from me? I'm trying to suggest to us that what we're seeing now is not something that and the good lady made reference to what is happening in Jamaica. This is a phenomenon that is happening. It happened in China, in Wuhan, where it started. We saw these hospitals being overwhelmed. Since then, we've come a long way. We recognize that in order for you to protect, and some countries are more, well, because of financial reasons, some of us had to open up early and expose ourselves. And all we have been hearing was, okay, Delta is coming to get you. Okay, when you know Delta is coming to get us, what is the best way to prevent Delta from getting us? Whether we're vaccinated or we're not vaccinated. Because there are limitations either way.
Okay, let me just take this. Good evening, thank you for holding.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, could you go ahead, please?
Okay, I'm calling.
Could you go ahead, please? Hello? Hello? Okay, can you call back? Hello?
Based on the numbers we are seeing, or at least hearing, children now, the transmission has galloped to the extent where percentile 300% increase over a week. Before, it was never published.
Edric, let me just take this. Good evening, thank you for holding.
Good evening, Webbo.
Yes.
You have a very interesting program this evening, like you normally do. And I noticed Dr. Bartlett has been coming on a bit of a fire. But let's come in on a little on her side, if you don't mind. I know she can defend us nicely. And Julia, you know, she was calling me some very good point. I think what Dr. Bartlett has been emphasizing is the fact that the Germans, the French, the British...
Caller, could you speak up? Could you speak up louder?
Yes, can you hear me now?
That's a little better.
Yes, so, you know, we out here in the island, I mean, with technology
and your radio programs. I mean, we're quite aware of what the developer is doing and respecting the sciences. What Dr. Battle has been emphasizing is the fact that in those developed countries, in a classroom, say of 20, you can do a PCR test, which is gold standard, for all 20 students all at once for one fee. You swab them in the morning, well, it's once, twice a week, and if those swabs go into one PCR test, and they are negative, then it's good to go to the class and the other classes. If it turns out positive, we know that it's 1 or 2 children, then you do individual PCR testing. Again, the antigen testing, the pricing of antigen testing have plummeted, and the technology has improved over a year ago. Why are we not using them here in the health centers? I will go twice a week. I'm vaccinated, but I still go. That is correct. The viral load is the same as in vaccinated as well as unvaccinated. So the question she has been putting out then, how do we get to these children early? What answers does New York and others can tell us about pool testing is possible? It is science is here. We now have 2 labs in St. Kitts and there's 1 in Nevis. What can we do about it? Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, thank you for holding. Okay, please caller. Try again. Edric, go ahead.
Well, what I'm saying to you, the numbers that we are looking at, or we have heard of, regarding those children, 18 and below, even at 0, based on the rate of illness, it has galloped, and therefore that must be taken into account, that we are not so serious in understanding this, and as a result we have to take proactive, as one caller mentioned, to in fact bring this pandemic under control.
Good evening, thank you for okay, please caller, we ask you to be patient. Let's see. Okay, we are asking you to be patient. Edric, just finish up the point that you're making.
The measures that have been put in place in the first instance, lockdowns, was a direct correlation, has a direct correlation to our economy. Thus, we are able to break the transmission with the lockdown, and we start over again.
Good evening, thank you for holding. Good evening, you're on the air.
Good evening, Webbo.
You're on the air, could you go ahead?
Good evening. I was trying to call earlier, but the phone was giving some problems. I am responding to a lady that called in and said that the teachers are incompetent. What I want to know, Webbo, is that how is that the teachers are incompetent when they have been working since COVID came around and there hasn't been a breakout in the schools? I'm sure that some of the teachers have looked after the children better than the parents. No disrespect to the parents, but it is true, because the parents go to school, the children go to school, they sit 6 feet apart from each other, and they sanitize ever so often. So how are they incompetent? And she also mentioned something about teachers being selfish by not being vaccinated. I mean, I'm vaccinated, but everybody have a choice. God didn't force salvation on anybody, so why they should force vaccination on the teachers? Let the teachers be pleased, and God protect the children. That's my stupid. Good night.
Good night.
I don't think the caller had mentioned incompetence, to be honest. But at the same time, if that is what the lady heard, so be it. Anyhow, we have to begin to understand. We have to use the tools that are available. Earlier clock, our nation had used the tools that were available, and based on the science and information that is coming out now in terms of the data, we know that this virus continues to mutate and continues to affect, and ultimately the numbers are beginning to go back up, and therefore we have to now attempt to find new tools, not only the testing, the isolation, but at the same time vaccination, which gives some level of protection. But we have to find the other reasons, other tools to in fact bring about and to arrest this menace.
Yes, but I would just like to thank the caller who was much more soft in terms of the way he spoke. He's soft speaking. I think it really bolstered my case a little bit. And I think maybe some people might be able to listen to him because they think that he's not a politician, I would imagine. Because it seems nowadays, if I say anything, whatever I say, even though it has no political basis, it is construed that way. So that is why I really think that politicians ought to keep out of some discussions, because right away, you alienate some people by just speaking the truth. As it relates to the statement that Mr. Stanley made, yes, it is true. We've seen a lot of cases in kids now because, of course, they are very vulnerable, and this variant is very, very aggressive, and we need to pay attention. Vaccination alone is not the end all, and if we have been following what the dictates of the WHO, what they have been suggesting within recent times is that you can't just rely on vaccination alone. You have to use all the tools that are available to you now, knowing what we know now of the virus. It is changing, and we have to keep up to date with the different changes that are required, and the action should always be proportionate to the risk level. And we recognize now that the risk to kids is high. We recognize that this is a very vulnerable population or subpopulation, and we can't just rely on the vaccination to keep them safe. I understand that we had to, because of economic reasons, we had to open the gate, but we have to make sure that we put the mitigating measures in place to keep us all safe.
Well, of course, the kids are front and center. I happens to be around someone who has a few kids, and she's so worried actually about school reopening. She wants the kids to go to school, like most parents, get on with it, go to school, but she's absolutely worried about the general situation and the kids becoming infected in some way or the other. Just listening to this discussion, Webbo, this is so interesting in a sense, because I see a lot of stubbornness and people who seems to be unwilling to listen and digest information, really. I think both sides are making a valid point, but I think more have to be done. More have to be done. We know the vaccines are being administered, and there will be always those who refuse to take the vaccine. And I think a parent who don't want to take the vaccine don't want to give the kids the vaccine either. But I think more have to be done as we dealing with new variant. I think more have to be done. And yes, it's been suggested by the World Health Organization that we got to be creative, we got to be forward thinking. The vaccine is there. The vaccine makes it more difficult, but it does not eliminate the chance. So, of course, all hands have to be on deck. And I think what Dr. Bartlett is making a highly valid point, and I'm finding it difficult that people seems to don't understand.
Anybody knows any medication that is 100%?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Well, why it seems to me as if people want this one to be 100%?
Well, I don't know who people want this.
But
one
it
to
seems
be 100%.
Based on how I'm understanding, right? Oh, yes, the vaccine is there, but it's not 100%. Well,
and that's what we got to.
What I'm saying is, nothing is 100%.
Well, of course.
Right.
Of course.
So that's a given.
That's understandable.
Right. So the other medications that we take them nonetheless, notwithstanding that 100%.
100%.
So we don't have that kind of debate.
But it's not a question about whether
is the best that we can do, and that is what the argument is made, right? Until we find something that is better, that will cure the thing. What they're saying is this is the best that we can do. It had a time when the mask, sanitizing, and so on was the best that we can do. Is that not true? So now they have the vaccine and they say, well, this is the best that we can do.
But the vaccine is part and parcel of the tools we use going forward. It's part and parcel of it.
So that is what we're saying. We have a couple of scenarios that we're using now. And we're saying that the vaccine right now is the best that we can do. Maybe tomorrow something else might come. But until then, that's the best that we can do. That's the best that they have. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Yes, good evening to you, Webbo.
You got a half a minute.
Yes, but I think that it seems like we want to wait until the pressure gets so high that people start to fall down on that. But I want to say, we got the vaccine available, and we got the hand washing and the mask wearing. And if we can only follow the protocol and do our best to keep ourselves, I think we can make it. You have a good night, good program. God bless you.
Thank you. That's the last word. This program repeats tomorrow at 10 o'clock following the VON News Minute. Join the Honorable Mark Brantley tomorrow evening at 8 o'clock for On The Mark. Thank you all again for joining us. This is your voice in the community, taught that get results. You all have a wonderful evening.
Is offering a large variety of floor and wall tiles at very competitive prices. Builders Paradise has over 2 million pieces in stock, lots of different styles to choose from. Whether you're renovating or tiling a new house, Builders Paradise has what you need. Wow! Oh, and remember, we're open all day Saturday to serve you better. This is something that you can't refuse. Visit Builders Paradise today at the C.A. Paul Southwell Industrial Site in St. Kitts or call them at 466-4938.
Views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis Broadcasting Company Limited or its advertisers.
City St. Kitts. Keep it sweet. Keep listening.